Hello there, and welcome to the Outside Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, and all that jazz that there's no tomorrow. This week, we're talking about Avatar. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John. How are you this week?
Hey, I'm great. Yeah. What about you?
I'm very good, thank you. I mean,
Yes.
I have been waiting to talk about Avatar for so long. It feels like genuinely, obviously, Avatar: The Way of Water is releasing. By the time this video comes out, it's been out for a couple of days. So,
Yes.
anyone listening to this, go out and watch it right now. But
Yes.
we've been waiting for this for so long, and I've been waiting to rewatch Avatar for so long.
Same. It's interesting because I don't know how that in 13 years since the movie came out, we haven't even talked about it. We haven't even talked
No.
about how iconic it was or how amazing the CGI was and forgot about, Pandora, all of that.
Yeah,
Like,
we really
yeah.
did. So, yeah, before we get started, briefly explain the plots for those who don't know.
All right, so this is the first Avatar because they were like giving me the second Avatar plot line. I was like, oh no,
No, no,
not
no, no,
getting
no,
into
my
that
good
yet.
man. We're doing the
No, no, no,
first
no, no,
one.
no. Okay, Jake, who is paraplegic, replaces his twin on the na'vi inhabited Pandora for a corporate mission. After the natives accept him as one of their own, he must decide where his loyalties lie.
Ahaha. What a
Ah,
what a setup. So yeah, so full spoilers ahead for anybody who hasn't seen this movie. And I mean, come on, it is the highest grossing movie of all time. So if you haven't seen it,
yes,
you're definitely missing out on a cultural moment. But I want to start exactly with what you were saying before. We never talked about this movie. I saw it when I was a kid and I wasn't too impressed. I thought it was fine. I have spent years slagging off this movie, being like, oh,
yeah,
it's nothing
same.
special. And having rewatched it recently, I don't think I've ever been more wrong in my life.
Yeah,
It
same.
genuinely, I had such a good time with this movie.
It was so cool. It's weird now because people got on the bandwagon of like hating the film, but it's weird because I was like, oh, I haven't seen the film for years, but have these people seen it? Have they watched it for a long time? Or I don't know, but it was just so weird watching it. I was like, this is so cool. Why wasn't I impressed? When I was watching with my dad, he was like, whoa, oh my God, well, that's so cool. But then I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, and I
But
mean, like, we're people who, we watched Lord of the Rings when we were a kid. All those films are longer than Avatar, and we're watching like all the MCU and all this stuff. And I don't understand how those worlds, we watch those movies and we are completely transported, and we fall in love with the worlds that those filmmakers construct. And yet we just let Avatar pass us by. I don't get it. I mean, I feel like I've got 13 years of repenting my sins to do right now. Like, I kind of feel bad. These days, it becomes more difficult to get excited for films, especially blockbusters. And I think that this one is like, I'm so excited for Way of Water. So yeah, let's talk about the first Avatar. Where do you want to start?
let's start with the introduction. The introduction was like a huge, great opening piece for Avatar because it just sets everything up, for Sully at Jake, and we are just transported into Pandora. And usually with sci-fi films, they will get like very smart characters into the story, and then you don't feel connected with them because they're more intelligent. They know everything in the film. They know a lot
Yeah,
about it. But then with Jake, you feel more connected with him. You feels more our place on the spaceship, and then with Pandora, it's so brand new, and we as an audience, we don't know what Pandora is like. We don't know what is this like technology, and with the cinematography, it's just so uncomfortable. It's so weird, and the color grading as well. It's alien-like. So I thought that was a great introduction into the film. That was just like setting up everything.
yeah, this film does like quite a few things that kind of distances it from other sci-fis in really clever ways. First of all, a lot of sci-fis, if they travel to different planets, the planets will be what you would find on Earth. You get a lot of like mountainous regions, or, I think about something like Interstellar. I would never knock Interstellar. I love that movie so much. I love the visuals of that movie. And the planets of that are cold, like mountainous regions. There's the whole thing with the big wave. Love that, all of
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
this
that was
really
great.
feels like an alien planet in the same way that something like the Star Wars prequels does. Seeing this is so great. And you're right, seeing it from Jake's perspective, so much of this film is about disconnecting yourself from the scientific and kind of vibing with the spiritual. That's
Hell
like
yeah.
that's such a heart of what this film is about. And I think the way that they present humanity as flawed in so many ways, Jake is the only character who is able to truly separate himself from humanity. And I think you can see, even from the beginning, he's kind of looked down on as he's paraplegic. Immediately, you see everybody get off the landing craft, and he's kind of lagging behind. And throughout the film, people will offer him to do stuff, like Grace offers to help him lift his legs into the sleeping pod, and he won't do it. And you can see that the army, they just want to murder all the Na'vi. The corporate people at the top, they just want the unobtainium. Even the scientists, they just want to collect samples and learn more, but none of them really care about the Na'vi in the right way, apart from Jake. I think he is a really interesting protagonist. And I'm sorry, but there's this criticism leveled against the film that the protagonists are bad and unmemorable. What? Like, I'm sorry, but I didn't feel that at all. I was
Yeah.
really, really taken by these guys.
Yeah, same. I remember a long time ago with the villain, I was like, that's a really horrible villain. Oh no,
Mm.
he's terrible. But no, in this, like when I was watching it again, guy who
The general.
yeah, General. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him. He was just heartless. Like he was just
Yeah.
wanting to kill all the Na'vi. And the way the film is like you keep hearing from these characters like their perspectives about the Na'vi. But this is really heartbreaking, this scene, like when the Na'vi are trying to protect the home tree with the bow and arrows. Compare that to what you said earlier in the film, right? The complete savages. I don't think they did anything to the humans, but that is just really, really good setup for the villain. It's like, oh wow, he said they were savages, but they weren't. They were just trying to protect their place. It's really interesting with the villain as well. And there's a really cool thing that I didn't get on earlier. So, throughout the film, you've got the
Mm-hmm.
Na'vi controlling their beasts, and you got the humans
Mm-hmm.
controlling with their suits. I thought that was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like they
I was
have
like
different.
having this mind blowing moment. I was just like, wow, that's a really interesting
Yeah, there's like a
different
parallels, the different
parallel.
to how
Yeah, yeah.
like ways they're doing things. The humans go for the bigger is better, big guns and big suits and all that. And in some ways that approach works. I mean, hell, it worked for dozens of colonizers in the real world who wiped out indigenous populations, and it works for when they're taking down home tree, but they really disregard all the mystical stuff. It's almost like something you'd find in Star Wars, the idea of a bad guy kind of underestimating the power of the Force. It's that kind of similar vein. It reminds me of a line in Rise of Skywalker where, I mean, I can't believe I'm quoting Rise of Skywalker. Avatar is so much better than Rise of Skywalker, but still, where somebody says, "Oh, they have no navy," and then they say, "Oh, it's just people." Like these villains don't understand the power of community, the power of the mystical stuff. This religion that they believe in, it's not just a religion; it's genuinely real. Like
Yeah.
Jake prays to the god at the end, and the god answers. Like it's not just a belief; it's genuinely like a thing that permeates throughout Pandora. And I think that the villains, I'm with you. I don't really remember the villains when I was a kid, but now we were talking about fascism in Pinocchio last week.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this week we're watching humans destroy indigenous population, like military being oppressive. That is something that we see in real life and have seen throughout history, especially watching that scene with Home Tree where they destroy it. Made me feel sick. The way that the Na'vi are dying and they're gassing children and people are rolling on the floor and scrambling to escape as their lives crumble around them. And then up in the helicopters, the general is using terms like "let's boogie" or "let's get home before tea." That's like genuinely like the way that they craft this villain as one of the most heartless and most disgusting people, who only cares about human. It's a very us or them kind of mentality. And it's
Mm.
just, it really was just spine chilling to watch.
The idea of you've got Parker
Yeah.
and the Colonel, they had the same idea, but they had different ones need. Parker, who wants this material, I forgot the name, but it's
Un- Unobtainium, of course.
unobtainium. Of course, yes.
The
And
greatest
then
name ever.
greatest name, and then Colonel, who wants power. He
Yeah.
wants to kill the Na'vi, trying to take some of their land as well. And there's some really good cinematography here. Like
Mm.
throughout the film, it's art. Like literally. Again, I don't know how anyone hasn't talked about the art in this film. Like it's just mind boggles. Like I'm just like, "Ugh, why haven't you talked about this for 13 years?"
I know
Like
I'm genuinely scared that The Way of Water is gonna not necessarily bomb, but underperform
Oh,
because,
please.
the cultural impact of Avatar has kind of diminished over the years as, Star Wars has come back and the MCU has kind of become the biggest franchise. I'm holding my breath. I really hope that The Way of Water absolutely smashes it, but I'm unsure.
There's some beautiful scenes as well. Like the scene where Jake and uh Terry
Neytiri.
Terry. Sorry, if you have you heard that me slamming on the desk? I'm just trying to
Yes, I did
learn
hear
all the
that.
names.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that is a thing of this movie. Again, like a common criticism is that you can't really remember anyone's name, and it's like I understand that, but at the same time,
I understand. Look at me.
I'm,
Look at me.
yeah, you're like the king of like forgetting names.
I don't complain about that. I'm just like,
No, but it's
I've got
just you,
I've got subtitles, but I'm
yeah.
fine with forgetting names. Who was that first?
If you truly care, you're gonna learn, right? Like that's kind of my idea about it all. If we're gonna talk about the beauty of this film, I mean, this is just an absolute visual masterpiece. James Cameron. I mean, we haven't mentioned him by name. The Lord and Savior.
The Lord
We
and
we we
Savior
we
James
dare
Smith.
not look upon him, but he is just one of the best filmmakers out there. There is no denying every single one of his films. I haven't even seen all of his films. I haven't seen The Abyss,
Oh, The
but
Abyss. I heard that's great.
yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that it is because it's James Cameron.
It's
But
James Cameron. Oh, yeah.
yeah, I haven't seen True Lies either. But everything that I have seen of his, he just knocks it out of the park every single time. He is so good at what he does, and the way that he realizes this world, the way that Pandora comes to life is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. Like he thought about the idea of what Pandora was like. This is crazy because he wrote the script in the 90s, Avatar, and then
Yes,
he
yeah, that's
waited.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he waited for 10 years for the technology, but it came out in 2009, which is insane. If you look at the video games or the special effects in 2009, some are good. Some are good. Like you got I don't know, but you got
Well, okay.
Avatar right
It was
there.
like it is a good era, thinking of
It was
CGI.
good.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead
Oh,
Man's Chest, World's End, that's that kind of era.
oh, Deadman's Chest.
Transformers, like the Harry Potter movies. There's a lot of good CGI going on. And I think somehow we have lost that. It's become less about making a vision come to life. And it's become more about let's get this film finished. It's more about tight deadlines. That's why, we look at the MCU and we've talked about so many MCU films in the pod, and what keeps on coming up is the CGI isn't it because they're not giving the VFX artists enough time. And I swear, 13 years to make Avatar 2 and to really, really make all the CGI when it needs to be, make all the visuals perfect. That is justified. I know they haven't been working on it the entire time in the 13 years, but it genuinely is so worth it. Looking at trailers for The Way of Water and looking at this film and the amount of time and effort that's put into every single detail, it's just like every blockbuster that has this kind of VFX needs that kind of immersion and that kind of effort put into it.
Yeah, with the special effects in CGI, I looked at the behind the scenes, and oh my god, they put so much into with the acting because with motion capture, with the suits, it's very, very difficult for you to act. Like if
Yes.
you in that space with no sets, it is incredible what Zoe, Sam, Sigourney, like they all work together in that space, and it was just very interesting to watch, like how they would visualize what it's going to be like. And the bit where all the naavi was singing in the Tree of Souls when Sully came. I keep saying Sully. Jake when Jake comes down with the massive.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw that. I
I
saw
just want to,
that.
I just want to point out they have made a Lego set of the Tree of Souls with that huge flying
What?
creature, and it is a thing of beauty. They have Avatar Lego sets, and it's taking everything in my body not to just buy them all. Like,
There's Lego Avatar
oh
sets.
my god, it's beautiful, honestly beautiful. But
Where?
yes, truly magnificent. But yeah, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, yes. I'm definitely not looking at Lego Avatar. Oh my.
I know.
Add to list. Anyway, sorry. Oh yeah, so Sully came down with the massive I'm gonna say dragon. I'm so sorry if you're
Yeah,
a
no, I don't
diehard
remember what they're
Avatar.
called.
I was watching this behind the scenes as like shot by shot with like how they did like all with the motion capture. There's a whole group of people there for the singing, and it was just like wow, they thought about every detail about the film. And there's so many details. For example, Pandora as well. I was like so completely immersed in. They thought about plants. They thought about like
Mm.
the trees, and then they thought about this really cool concept about ancestors and souls as well. And there was this really cool scene where Sully was Jake. I was about to. Um, that's when Jake met Terry for the first time, and then these souls, I guess, yeah, like
Yeah,
souls
the
came to
little
his
kind of
body.
like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that was such a cool shot of him like being attached with these souls, and I thought that was a really cool concept that was explored very well in the film with the Awa. And yeah, I was like, I need a lore on Pandora, please, please give me lore,
Yes.
please.
It is all so fascinating. They have crafted this kind of, huge mythology just for this one film. And I love, normally I'm a bit like iffy on sequels, but, the idea that James Cameron is so passionate about this and he really wants to tell this story, I'm all for it. James, if you want to make 7 Avatar movies, you can make 7 Avatar
Please,
movies. I will
please.
watch every single one of them. It feels like something like Lord of the Rings. We called Lord of the Rings the
Yes.
greatest trilogy ever made, and I don't think that's ever going to change. It really was fantastic. But what's so good about that is how expansive it is, how big the world is. And you can
Yes.
see in Avatar that you just scrape the surface. At the end, when they begin to talk to the other Na'vi tribes, you can see that there's so much more going on. We're only looking at this small part of this entire planet. In the sequel, we're getting underwater stuff, which we didn't really explore in the first one. There's so much to go into, within the spiritual and all that, like, and I think that, again, that is such part of the themes of the movie. You can't just take samples and write about what Pandora is. You have to experience it. You have to embrace the culture and truly understand. And I
Yeah.
think, that's a big level of again, why the villains work so well, because they're hypocrites. They want to protect their culture. They want to protect Earth and like get unobtainium for them, but they don't care about the Na'vi culture and they don't care about any of that. And they will literally criticize. They'll be like, these tree hugging aliens, when they'll be like, oh, by the way, guys, don't forget to pray to Jesus before you go to sleep tonight. It's like, they're literally criticizing and making fun of the Na'vi for their beliefs
Yeah.
when their beliefs to an outsider is just as ridiculous. And I just think there's so many interesting ways in the way that they layer that side of the story. None of it works if you can't, take it from the human perspective and see the hypocrisy and the ridiculousness at everybody looking in on the world. Again, why Jake's such a good protagonist, because he is looking at it from the outside, and because, we can understand him, and, he truly is the only one to embrace what Pandora is. And that's kind of why Grace, Sigourney Weaver's character, doesn't transfer her consciousness, because she doesn't really have that belief, and she's not truly
Ah.
with it in the way. Obviously, also she was bleeding out and she was, in critical condition, but still, like, there are so many layers to the way that this world is crafted, and like, the spiritualness of it.
Yeah, and with the details of the characters, there's one interesting one actually. When we see Sigourney Weaver's character for the first time, she comes out of the pod and then she starts to smoke. And then you see her in a avatar. She's completely happy. Like she's very, very happy. Like you see that sudden change of character, and you get to see that visual storytelling with her, like, oh, so she's more into this avatar world, that avatar side to it, and she wants to explore more of that, and she's more happier. Whereas in the real world, the human space, she's less happier. If you see that sudden mood swings, and I thought that was a really, really cool visual storytelling as well. And with Jake, oh my
You get
god,
it. You got it. You got this. You got
oh
this.
my god, okay, with Jake, as he is paraplegic and he wants new legs as well, or legs in general, to
He
able to
wants
walk
he
again.
wants everyone's legs. He wants just like 16 legs.
Give me
He
all
wants
the
to walk
legs.
he wants to
Give me
walk
all the
around
legs.
like a
I can
crab.
be the legs. But yeah, there's this amazing scene when Jake fully transfers his consciousness into the avatar, and he's in amazement. And you get to see, oh, who's the science guy? Well, okay, the science guy,
Norm.
who's in the avatar, great actor.
Norm?
Eh,
Norm?
Norm.
Is it Norm? Norm, the science guy. You know the guy.
No, no, the way that you went. No,
Norm?
no. You sound like you're so lost.
I'm lost. I need Norm to take me to
Oh,
Pandora and
no.
make me a Navi and just absolutely save me.
Norm, he's like, I learned everything about Avatar, the AWA, everything about it. And then with Jake, he's like, oh, cool. And he just runs. But the really, really wholesome bit is that he was able to walk again. And then he wiggles his toes, he wiggles,
Yes.
legs, and then he gets out and he starts to run. And I thought that was the most satisfying thing, he is able to be free. And then that's the start of his character arc with him,
Yes.
this idea of which world do I want to be in, because there's one that he feels completely alive. You see him at the beginning, he's not very happy. He's only there for a contract and he will get the money to get new legs. But then with a new body, with a new avatar, that completely changes his idea of what life is really about. And there's another great scene, that really supports that as well. Why is he so comfortable with his avatar? And what made him care about this world, this Pandora? When he talks to the Awa, to the Tree of Souls, he said about like, where I come from, they killed its mother. Talking about Mother Nature, they completely killed
Yes.
Mother Nature. And that took me, I was like, wow, why didn't I get this? Like, this whole idea of like the humans completely going to different planets, that would be really cool. He wants to protect Pandora and doesn't want to see the humans ruin a world again with money and war. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there is an extended version of this movie.
Wait,
Um,
what?
where
I
there's an extended version which isn't available on Disney Plus,
Oh,
unfortunately. But it's all unfinished, so all the CGI is unfinished, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily like the version that James Cameron wants you to see, but it is available. And the opening scene in that version is Jake getting recruited on Earth. And I actually think that the decision not to show Earth was a good one, because you can imagine with lines like that about the humans killing their mother, things like that, you can imagine what Earth looks like. Seeing those deleted scenes, it looks more like Blade Runner, which
oh,
obviously, is very
yeah,
kind of like dystopian, but still, I like how this film leaves it up to interpretation, all the horrible things that they do. And I think that you're right that there's so much to Jake's character in this whole thing. And I think, first of all, the fact that Norm is like, I've learned the language and I know all this, but still, he's not exactly in tune with it all. Out of all the humans we see, obviously the scientists are the most kind of in tune with it, but still, they're still only in it to kind of experience this. Whereas for Jake, being a Navi offers him an opportunity, to kind of experience life in a way that he hasn't been able to for a while. And what I love about his character arc is that it begins with just he wants new legs, he wants to fix that part of him that's broken, but then it kind of, it evolves into, an actual need, an actual love for all this stuff. And he says it to Neytiri. He's like, oh, I originally wanted to, help the military, but now I've fallen in love. And it does sound kind of stupid, but we see as we're kind of, going along with him that he really does care and he learns to care. And
yeah,
it does, really like you do kind of like really empathize with that and all of what he's doing and the way that he's seeing. And as you're saying with Grace, when she gets out, she immediately starts smoking. You can see that he stops taking care of his appearance when he's out of his avatar. And
yeah,
you can see that he doesn't really care, and that he's not eating. And one of the best scenes in the movie is where Neytiri wakes up and there's this huge like steamroller that's cutting down all the trees and the military are coming for her, and she's desperately trying to run away and drag Jake with her. She's trying to wake Jake up, but he's in the human world. And then as she is desperately trying to run away and the steamroller is getting ever closer and destroying everything in its path, we see just in the human world, just, they're joking around. They're, oh, no, before you get into the pod, you've got to eat your breakfast. And like, he's getting so close to getting into his avatar, but he can't because he keeps on getting like distracted by simple, pointless things. While on the other hand, Neytiri is literally fighting for her life. And I loved that sequence so much. It was so tense.
yeah. It was very intense, and there was other intense set pieces as well. With that scene, I thought that was a great example of him waking up. The idea of waking up is constantly retold in this film. It's told the audience like you need to wake up, and then as Jake wakes up in his avatar, he fully realizes what the military are doing to the world. Like he fully realizes like he's been telling them like where the Navi are, and It's that change of perception, like, oh, they're doing this. Why are they doing this? It's killing the one that I really love right now. It's hurting. Then there's this other great set piece as well that I absolutely love when they all fight in the air. That was really cool with the Na'vi, and then the humans they fight in the air with the helicopters with their creatures as well. And there's that all is lost moment when Jake tries to ask anyone if anyone's there, and then the AWOL comes in, and that was so cool. Like, that was like, oh my god, that was such a cool
Yes.
moment. And I'm
Yes, it
like,
really was. Like when all the creatures, come to their help, things that have, we've seen throughout the movie, and they all come together,
oh
this whole
yeah,
planet defending against the invaders in such a cathartic scene. It was beautiful.
oh my god, that was so cool. With the creatures with they look like Triceratops, the one with the massive
Yeah, they had like a
hammer
huge
head.
yeah, like a battering ram, and
Yeah,
it was
Baron
so
Ram.
great. It
Yeah,
was
it
so
was so
great
good.
seeing them kind of all come together. That whole third act is so great, and the moment when Jake is facing off against the general, and he's kind of like, "You're betraying your entire species for this. You've absolutely lost your loyalties, and you're a disgrace." And Jake replies by hissing at him, doing like a proper thing, and
What was that
it's
noise?
like that was me trying to replicate a Navi hiss. What can I say?
Okay,
But
okay.
it it
Carry
was
on.
it was genuinely just so great because it's him kind of reaffirming his connection to the Navi and him kind of saying, "Yeah, fuck you. I'm not human anymore. I don't want to be." And that whole final sequence of that whole final fight really was just amazing and such a great way to end. And I love that it wasn't like a human savior thing. It wasn't like Jake comes in and solves all the problems. Neytiri literally Boromir style 3 arrows into
Boromir
the
style.
Colonel,
Yeah.
which I guess is how the Colonel is in the new one. Like I don't know how he's still there, but
Wait,
okay.
what?
Yeah, he's in the cast. I don't know like how
Wait,
maybe it's a
maybe it's a
flashback,
flashback?
but like it could be, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Oh,
But
and
that's interesting because Sigourney Weaver is in the new one as well, and obviously her
oh,
character died as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff about this new one. But I guess yeah, again we'll wait and see. But there is this
yeah.
whole overarching question of for what the humans are coming onto this planet, onto this land for what? For resources, for power. Like these are such stupid reasons to destroy a civilization, to be so cruel. And there's this great bit where Grace and Jake are talking to Parker and they're like, you realize what you've done. These trees are all interconnected. This is after they've destroyed Home Tree, and they're like, and these trees are all interconnected. This means so much to them. They're not going to just stand, you taking all their stuff. This is personal now. And Parker genuinely looks a little bit scared at the fact that he's kind of like killing children. And you do get a little bit of that. And again, in the extended cut, there's a scene where Parker tries to stop them from going to fight the Na'vi. And again, I'm happy that they cut that out because I do think it's more realistic that he would still choose to try and, to try and kill them all and get the unobtainium. But, you can see, and he just kind of goes, oh, well, that they're just trees. What are you even on about? And it's, again, this disrespect for the culture and for the religion and these, like, mythic, more kind of like emotional ways of thinking that the humans just don't understand. And that contrast is just so beautiful.
And the way that was shown throughout the film, like how the contrast between the Na'vi and the humans as well, that was just well explored. And with the different cinematography and the different mise en scène as well, I thought that was just having that contrast is very
Yes.
important in the film as well. And
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's a color contrast in the human bits. It's all gray and dull and bland. You really do get the sense of why would anyone want to be, in this base? It's not a military base; it's a mining base, but it's full of military equipment and mining equipment and all this stuff. And it is just like, damn, it really is so horrible. And then you go into Pandora where everything is so beautiful and the creatures and all the plant life and everything is just so wonderful to look at. Like that contrast is honestly just so great, and again that's such a big part visually and in the way they tell the story.
yeah, and there's this line that I absolutely love. I see you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
also the name for the song that plays in the credits.
I love that line because I think that that can be dissected many different ways. There's the scene I absolutely love when Neytiri saves Jake from the pod and then gives him the mask that helps him to breathe. And he says, I see you. And I thought that was a really interesting way of like he's showing his true self. Because to truly see one another, you gotta see them within, like the idea of seeing with the avatar and then seeing with humans, like who are you the most loyal to? And that helps them to see the real you. And when Materia saves Jake in that, it's that idea of her trusting him again. The idea of, how does she trust Jake after the horrible things that happened with the home tree? And it's the idea of trust saying, I see you. And I thought that's a really good quote from the film that is so iconic as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And it's also, again, like the Navi in their spiritualness. It doesn't matter that he's human. She could easily look at him and be like, "Oh, this is junior human form, ew." Like, but she does, but she doesn't. She sees
Ew,
past
you
that. She
got
sees his
small fingers.
mind, and that is, again, unlike the humans who spend the whole time underestimating the scientists and underestimating Jake and thinking that their large forces and all their guns and helicopters and gunships and mech suits can, win the day, when the Na'vi know. And the film's message is definitely that there are things so much more important. And I think that works so well. And you see that in Michelle Rodriguez's character,
Oh,
who was another highlight. She kind of demonstrates that you can exercise choice, and she just kind of says, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for murder, for destroying. She's just a pilot. She doesn't want to just, like, kill innocents, like this whole tribe. She also understands what the humans are doing, and it demonstrates this kind of exercise of lack of empathy, lack of thinking on the human part, but not necessarily that it is all of humanity, as we see with the scientists and with Jake and with Michelle Rodriguez's character. It's not black and white. It's not like Navi good, humans bad.
no.
Whoa.
Oh
No,
my
it
god,
it
that visual reference. Oh my god.
yeah, it goes
Whoa.
deep. It goes deeper than that. It
Yeah, it goes
genuinely
deeper.
has more meaning, more weight. And
Yeah, yeah.
again, like, it just on it, it was literally just mind blowing.
It was
Honestly,
mind blowing.
like that. Of course, like, I have nitpicks. Like, sometimes the CGI was a little bit weird, but like rarely. There are a
Rarely,
couple
yeah.
of things, but everything was just so enchanting. This film was utterly gorgeous, and everything about it really just whisked me away. Like, even
Yeah.
like the music as well was brilliant. Apparently James Horner, the composer, he created like this new sound, this kind of new alien sound for the
Oh,
movie. And then James Cameron was like, nah, let's make it more tribal with the drums they use in the kind of like way. And I understand why that is ironic. There's a video on YouTube about it, about why that's kind of ironic, that he kind of changed it and made it more kind of human. But it's a really good score.
yeah,
It
I
really,
agree.
really is beautiful, and it gave me chills so many times in the movie.
Yeah.
It worked so well.
I got some criticisms about the dialogue.
Yes, no, I'm with you there. Go on.
At the beginning, this frustrated me a lot. When Sigourney Weaver's character's like, "Are you trying to mess up my scientific program or something?" And then there's this massive, massive expositional dialogue in the beginning that could have been easily taken away. He's like, "We're here for this material. $200 million. We're at war with the Na'vi. If you don't do anything about it, we're gonna be screwed." It was
Just like,
there at the
yeah,
beginning.
no. I felt that as well sometimes with Jake's voiceover. Like, I do love a voiceover, but sometimes he was like, I'm beginning to see that they're all the Navi are really cool. And it's like, yeah, I know, I can, like, you're showing me that on screen. Like, you don't need to tell us all that. And I know that James Cameron can do voiceover really, really well. Look at Terminator 2. Some of the best voiceovers I've ever heard are in that movie, with Sarah Connor's constant narration, or not necessarily constant, but still Sarah Connor's narration. But yeah, that did take me out of it. I understand. But at the end of the day,
End of the
I
day,
think you'll agree. It's nitpicks. It's small
it's
things.
small nitpicks,
But,
yeah.
like, honestly, like, I was watching the film, and I had to pause very quickly whilst I was watching it, and I noticed that I was an hour through, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm an hour through already." It went by like that. The pacing was immaculate. It was so well done, and it wasn't dull, like, at all. Some films really, really feel like they're coming up on 3 hours. This one didn't at all. I was the whole time completely engaged.
Yeah, same. I was just like, wasn't even bothered by the runtime. I thought that was just perfectly well executed with the pacing, with with the storytelling as well. And I thought I was just completely immersed. And I remember years ago, I was looking at Avatar at English literature and or
Wait,
language.
what?
I didn't.
They
I
were
don't know what.
they were teaching Avatar in English literature.
No, no, no.
Okay,
Language.
children, today William Shakespeare can get fucked. We're talking about James Cameron's Avatar, the greatest piece of
We're not
fiction
doing the
in the
Tempest.
world.
We're not doing Macbeth. We're doing Avatar. But miss, it's nearly 3 hours. Shut up.
We're watching Avatar, and you're
We're
gonna
watching
like
Avatar.
it. Oh my god, yes,
Um,
that sounds great.
but yeah, small nitpicks. This is an iconic film. If you haven't seen it on this earth, 13 years,
On this earth.
go watch it,
You
please.
know, you know how like in the 80s they sent like a probe into space with like a load of like Earth culture and like
Oh yeah,
videos and
yeah.
stuff? They should do that with Avatar.
They
Just
should.
send. Oh wait, no, they shouldn't because it shows humans as
No,
like
no, please. No,
as
no,
colonizers.
aliens, if you're
Imagine,
listening, please,
imagine an
please.
alien watches Avatar and they're like, "Oh my god, we've got to kill these guys."
Oh my God, they are horrible.
Look what they tried to do to Pandora.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, bad
I
idea. Don't listen to me.
no, don't listen to Tom. He will be a bad representation for the human
Yes.
race.
I come in peace now. Let me be one of you. Let me transfer my consciousness into a big tree.
Don't worry, I'll be perfectly fine with being tall. I mean, you get to be tall, so
That's true. I'd love to be like 8 foot or however tall they are. But yeah, no, I second what you're saying. If you haven't seen it, watch it and go and watch the sequel because we need this kind of cinema.
yes,
It can't just be the corporate driven stuff of like the MCU. It can't just be, the
yeah,
tight budgeted. Nothing wrong with liking the MCU. We're still watching the MCU,
yeah.
but
We're still criticizing
Avatar.
it.
Yeah, of course. There are things to like, there are things not to like. That's fine. And I'm not saying that the Avatar is completely perfect, but it's a kind of cinema that is becoming lost. And honestly, come on, just like go to the cinema, watch it, and yeah, I really think, or at least I really hope that The Way of Water is as good as we want it to be. What are you gonna give Avatar out of 10?
Before I get into rating it, I
Yeah.
want to say that there's that creativity that James Cameron gives out into this film,
Mm,
and he's so passionate. Like,
mm.
for 13 years, we were like talking about James Cameron, like, when is he releasing Avatar? Like, oh,
Yeah, it
and then we
was
talked
it was
about
very
like,
much like, oh, does he have to make more Avatar? We
was
didn't want
he?
that.
Yeah, he's filming the third one now, but now he's filming the fourth one. But yeah, I was like, oh wow, go for it, James.
We're with
Yeah.
you, my guy.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna give it a 10 because I thought
Brilliant.
this is a very iconic film. I'm not gonna agree with everyone. This is the film that I thought that is very motivational for filmmakers to have because this is the creativity that is
Mm.
completely picked out from James Cameron. He's like, this is what I want to show. And I thought that's just very motivational for filmmakers if they want to, unleash their creativity. And it's got an excellent story. And I thought it was very impactful with everything that's got given out, the idea of the Navi and the humans as well. And I thought that was just very powerful. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better to myself. It really is amazing. I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. We've been doing some great movies recently, but thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed it and you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're on Spotify, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week we're gonna be doing Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. That's falling on Christmas Day, so it fits. But don't worry, we're not gonna leave Pandora like that. In 2 weeks, we're going to be covering Avatar: The Way of Water. Of course we are.
Of course we
and
are.
and yeah, and then we're going to be moving into our best of 2022 and our most anticipated 2023. And then we've got loads of cool stuff coming in the new year. So if you're interested, follow and subscribe.
Mm.
And tell us your thoughts
And
on Avatar. You can send us an email at alsteinfilmpod@gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts, ask us any questions, we'll answer them right here on the podcast. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Alstine Film Pod.
yes, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed Avatar or us talking about Avatar, do watch it. I'm very excited to see the new one. I think it's going to be really, really cool to watch.
100%. I've got it booked, super screen, 3D. I'm ready. I'm ready. I don't normally go and see films in 3D, but if James Cameron says to watch it in 3D, I will watch it in 3D for him. Do it for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, just Avatar. Yes,
Avatar.
Avatar. Oh, and The Weekend. Yeah, he's doing the soundtrack. So,
Yes.
yes,
Brilliant. Can't wait to hear
brilliant.
his single for The
Yes,
Way of Water.
it's going to be a banger. Anyway, take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.